Serious, what twists events have happened in your life that you never imagined would? Doctors found a brain tumor in my dad. During surgery, they could only take out 98% of it, for taking out the last 2% would cause too much damage to the brain. He comes out of surgery and can't feel or move anything below his chest. My dad is 6 feet 3 and built. I've never seen him down. The day I saw him after surgery, he looked demolished, puny. This was 5 months ago. Today, my dad can move his left leg, bathe himself, feed himself, and even take some laps around the house with a walker. Every day is a struggle for him, and the only thing my old man says is, "I just want to go back to work." That sounds like such a challenging recovery. Rooting for your dad and sending him and you all lots of well wishes. When we were 13, a man we had never seen before showed up on our doorstep and beat our father nearly to death. Turns out he was our much older brother we had no idea existed. He caught wind of our existence, correctly deduced that our father was as abusive to us as he was to him, and drove across the country to save us in what I hope is the most soap opera crap that will ever happen to us. Probably that my parents no longer scream at each other over anything and everything. My brother said they were even holding hands the last time they visited him. It is so outlandish I am having a hard time believing it until I see it for myself. Good to hear that. My best friend got cancer, not once, not twice, but 3 times. After her second time with cancer we thought she was dead, but not 3 months later she started getting very tired, and one MRI scan later we found out that a tumor is back, and inoperable. Just this past week they decided to cut her chemo, and now her long battle with cancer is coming to an end. I'm so sorry, this is heartbreaking. I hope you and your best friend are able to enjoy the time you have together, and may you always treasure your happy memories with her. My dad finally getting sober. He was a case a day from the age of 16 up until a few years ago. Had several DUIs. Didn't get a job until he was in his 50s. Constantly drank while driving even with us kids in the car. He never talked about his drinking. Never admitted to having a problem. He had a medical procedure and bam, sober. It's been so weird and so awesome at the same time. I never imagined that my baby sister would kill herself. I never imagined that before I was 30 my mom would die. I never imagined that my grandma would have a deep dark secret involving my mother not actually being my grandfather's child. I am so sorry. That is tough. I hope you are doing better and I hope you stay safe. My mom, little sister and I were playing in the park and my mother and I were talking about what we were going to do for my 18th birthday in a couple months. Later that night she overdosed and was declared brain dead 4 days later and the plug was pulled. Yeah, really didn't see that one coming. Dang dude, that's super tough. Wish you all the best. My brother died. I was kicked out with the words "I wish you would have died in his place" from my mother, and was homeless 3 years. My wife cheated and left. The divorce was finalized last week. Certainly surprised me, our kids, and her entire family. Man, I am so sorry. The 1st of March was 1 year since my divorce. It is so painful and difficult. I am so sorry. During my time in the military, we ported out in Sri Lanka. During my night out, I had 4 Coronas and a shot of Jack, over the course of about 6 hours. My friend had the same. We were used to drinking and had a good fortitude about us, but that amount of alcohol shouldn't have gotten us that messed up. He began slurring his words hard and was unable to stand properly. As I tried to get him outside, the bouncer stood before me. He said that my friend would be fine and to sit back down and keep drinking. My head was heavy but I wasn't about to just sit there. I told the bouncer that we'd be right back. We were going to use the restroom. When we left this bar we shot straight out and grabbed a tuk-tuk, Sri Lankan 3-wheel taxi, and got the heck out of there, back to our hotel. I remember getting my friend to the bed, slapping him on the butt and saying, "Sleep tight, bud." Next thing I knew I was waking up to small pebbles being tossed at my head. I looked around and I was on the roof of some building, in Sri Lanka, alone. Some gentleman helped me inside their house from the roof and I was escorted back to base where I promptly told the command that we'd been drugged. Watch your drinks folks. Anyone, any gender can fall victim to these things. Stay safe. TLDR. Woke up on a roof after my friend and I were drugged in Sri Lanka. There was a guy I could not stand in high school. We hated each other. 10 years after high school we reconnected on Facebook. Now we're married and have a kid. And honestly, it's the happiest I've ever been. I met my wife at work. We hated each other for about 5 months. Then we got to having so much fun trying to pee each other off that we fell in love. Been married for 25 years. Still happy as day one. Both of my parents died when I was in my 20s and I ended up inheriting property and a significant amount of money, but would trade every cent of it to have either one of them back for one day. I so agree with you on this. Family over money. I lived past 30. Always thought I'd have offed myself by now, but nope. I keep on living. Just trying to make crap better as I'm able. Keep on at it. I'm also amazed I made it past 30, but glad I did. I've by no means truly got my act together, but as long as we really work at it, life has a funny way of getting us to see more. In January I broke up with the girl that I thought was the one. In February I got severely sick, diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Then I had to withdraw from university because of how sick I was. Right when I started getting better, the quarantine was put on place. So now I've been stuck inside my house the last 3 months, and I've left it probably 10 times. Did not imagine it'd be this freaking alone and sick right now. I get this. I'm sorry. I was diagnosed with colitis about 15 years ago. They removed my colon. I don't have an ostomy, thankfully. If you need someone to talk to, DM me. I have since been diagnosed with Crohn's. More than 10 years ago my mother told me we would move to another state within the country. School was way easier there and my grades improved drastically. Due to this I was able to go to a good university, studying the subject I wanted back then and having the possibility of a successful career and life. I was happy to get this chance and took it. Now as I have finished university I'd wish to go back and change my subject because the last few years haven't been at all what I was expecting back then, but unfortunately I realized too late. My mom had 3 wildly different careers before she was 35 and found what she wanted. If you're not happy you really can start again with something different. Found out cancer runs in the family at 15. 2 of my sisters and brother had it. My dad had hidden the genes from us until then. My girlfriend at the time broke up with me when I told her why I was so upset, as we, the family, were trying to hide what was going on and she thought I was just trying to make excuses to break up. A few months later found out I had another sister and a nephew abroad that my dad had abandoned. My mother and her partner just started to smoke weed 24/7 after the whole thing blew over. It was insane to look at such a drastic change between going into and leaving high school. Being sexually assaulted in school multiple times, being bullied relentlessly, experiencing religious abuse, conversion therapy, and then later being outed, having to leave school, and then years of mental health issues. I'm just a boring person from a boring town and somehow things just kept happening over and over again in my life. If none of this had happened I would be a completely different person in every aspect of my life. I'm so sorry for all you've been through. Nobody should have to endure those things. I hope the courts are dealing with your abusers. I hope you find a path to happiness, with people you can trust to support you. When I was in school, I was pretty much convinced I'd join the Air Force and become a pilot. Skipping a few years ahead, graduated in journalism and I'm making a career out of video editing, producing. Weird twists, man. Weird twists. I went to school for video production, graduated and went into waitressing, ultimately ending up in accounting. All good. I just found out I probably have diabetes. I eat really healthy and walk my dog 2-3 times a day. I thought I could beat my genetics. I threw out everything in my cabinets and fridge. It's scary. Diabetes sucks. Me, a diabetic. Never expected to be very happily married and own a house. I always thought I would end up as gutter trash alone and living in a cardboard box. Well, here's to failed expectations. Clink. Being left for an arranged marriage despite living in the US in the 21st century was something I never expected to happen. 10/10 recommend if you're looking for a self-esteem boost. When I was 8 or 9 I got phagophobia. It's a rare phobia where you're very afraid of swallowing solid food. I visited many therapists and eventually got over it. I lost something like 10 kilograms in the first week when it happened. I've been married to a woman for 25 years. That's spectacular because I'm actually bisexual and lean heavily toward men. I never thought I would be with a woman, much less 25 years, and looking for another 25 more. Isn't love amazing? I'm bi and usually prefer women. I've been married to my husband for 15 years and I love it. I never expected to have a cancerous tumor on my thyroid and need to do radioactive iodine treatment at 25 years later. I take pills daily due to my thyroid being removed, but it's going well for the most part. My mom and grandma had thyroid problems after 40, so I never expected to have to worry about it so soon. Just happy to be well. Hello fellow daily thyroid pill taker. My mentor decided to surprise me with a birthday party, and after an evening of partying, she let my boyfriend and I stay the night. The next day, I woke up to my mom calling me. She called me 6 times before that, literally calling until I woke up. I answered the phone and she was sobbing on the other line, telling me that my cousin's almost ex-husband did something to her and himself and that I needed to come home ASAP. On the drive there, my brain managed to convince myself that my cousin was still alive. Of course, when I got home, she met me on the driveway and told me that they were both dead. My cousin was murdered and her husband killed himself afterwards. Recalling that day is surreal. I don't think I've ever heard myself scream in that kind of way. My parents tried to hug me but I had to push them away and run inside into the bathroom because I couldn't stop dry heaving. I was instantly throttled into a panic attack and couldn't stop screaming her name. My cousins were raised with me. All of us were as close as siblings. I lost my big sister in the most hellish way possible. I'm hoping I never have to feel heartbreak like that for the rest of my life. I am so sorry. Bet you that bastard is rotting in heck now. I caught meningitis last year. Whole world flipped upside down. Now I'm missing my legs. My hands are perma-fricked and my kidneys are failing. Can honestly say I never imagined being like this, especially not at 20. When I was younger we thought, man, by 2020 we'll have flying cars. Turns out, we'll be teaching people how to wash their hands. And making it mandatory to stay inside and watch TV. My seemingly healthy grandmother suddenly had a stroke in January and ended up with her right side paralyzed and unable to talk. She struggled for 2 months and died 2 weeks ago. If you told me last year that my grandma was going to die so soon I wouldn't have believed you. I grew up super poor, like single mother working 2 jobs poor. Dad became an alcoholic and around 17 I followed in his footsteps. Always had decent grades but stopped going to school in 11th grade. Basically did various drugs and drank and worked as a dishwasher or at fast food chains and basically resigned myself to having a crappy life, blaming everyone else for my problems. Society was at fault. My upbringing, school, whatever. When I was about 25 I met a girl who introduced me to some philosophy that basically preaches self-ownership. You own your body and are responsible for your own life. I know that's not necessarily popular on Reddit but it changed my life. I now work at a job making enough money to support myself and my wife. I've been to Europe and Japan multiple times and go on 3 or 4 vacations every year. I didn't get a driver's license until I was 30 and now own 3 cars. I fully attribute my success to taking personal responsibility for the things in your life you're not happy with and working hard to change them. Good for you. You've stared life with a crappy hand of cards and made the best of them. You are a success story. Be proud of yourself and never look back. Never expected I'd go from a candid platonic relationship with my best female friend to going full gay, cruising at sex clubs, practicing fisting, and doing drag. The crap went from 0 to 100 in like 3 months. What a roller coaster of a story. Got pregnant at 19 by a guy who totally checked out even before my daughter was born. He loved the idea of being a dad, not so much the work or money that went into it. My idea of happily after was in shambles. Thanks to my parents' help, they watched my daughter so I could continue to attend college full time. I befriended a guy there in my lit class. 3 years later we married. We had 2 more kids, and he adopted my daughter when she was 7. Because of his career I've lived all over the place, experiencing things I never imagined. If I hadn't gotten pregnant, I would have never met him, and I'd probably be still in my crappy hometown. We've been married almost 16 years, and every dang day I thank God for him. Best thing that's ever happened to me besides my children. The co-worker I was crushing on and girl of my dreams made the first moves towards me, and here we are still going strong many years later. Same here. I wasn't working with her, just a close friend, but didn't think she had any interest in me, mostly because I have a lot of female friends, so she wasn't acting in any way I wasn't used to. We went to a movie with some other friends and she grabbed my hand and that was it. Getting close to 3 years now. Getting cheated on after treating your so with so much love, and it was surprising too because there was no problems in the relationship because I always listened to her if there was and correct the mistakes from the past. Gladly, at least THST is over and I'm recovering on it. Sometimes, there don't have to be a problem with the relationship, it could just be her who had a problem with herself. I moved and became a citizen of another country as an adult, then starting to forget my native language and express myself better in a different one. I am the same when I have calls with my family. I have to ask them what is the word for whatever we talk about, as I can't remember. I can't describe them my job because I don't know how to explain in my language. I moved to UK when I was 27. I was pregnant and at 5 months my OBGYN sent me to the hospital because he had some worries. There I was told that my baby was very small for her gestational age due to placental insufficiency. I stayed in the hospital for a month thinking every day that my baby would die inside me. I had a C-section 6 weeks ago, thinking the whole time that my girl won't survive long after birth. But the doctors thought the same. She came out and weighed only 355 grams. Today she's 6 weeks old and a kilo. Never thought I would get to hold her and see her grow. That of all the dumb things I've done, I'd be under house arrest due to a virus. And not even a computer virus. A real goddamn virus did me in. Had allegations made against me by a female student because I said something to her that she didn't like. That she was heading to fail my class. Poor investigating by the board and an eagerness to support the student cost me my job. Turned out it was the straw that also broke my marriage apart. Contemplated ending it all, leading to a hospitalization. Major downward spiral. Scandalous things like this shouldn't happen. Dang. I hope you're doing better now. When I was in college, a girl came into my room when I was passed out drunk and tried to have sex with me. I never thought that as a guy I would be a victim of sexual assault like that, but it happens. I just don't think it gets talked about as much. Heck, even I didn't report it because I didn't think I would be taken seriously, but it should be. The first time it happened to me and I tried to tell people, they laughed at me for having sex with an ugly girl. The second time, everyone told me it was half my fault. People don't take it seriously. In high school I was a full-on peace and love hippie who almost dropped out of school to become a famous musician. Now, I'm an Air Force veteran, halfway through my physics degree and on my way to becoming a research physicist. I met my future husband on Reddit. He contacted me after I ran my picture on our singles. We started talking and at first, because he was so hot and built, I thought he was fake. I never saw that one coming for sure. A long time ago, when I was 15, I found out my deceased great uncle served time for murder, and that's why he wasn't in any recent family photos. That same year, maybe even during the same family party, my drunk aunt let it out that I was an accident. I'm the third kid 3 years apart as my other siblings. That's just the happy parts. I'll keep the dark parts out of this that I endured as an adult. Well, when I was growing up I had severe depression. The only future I saw for myself was running away, likely getting abducted and put into human trafficking, or death. I didn't think I'd live to see my 21st birthday. This went on for about 8 years. Then someone kind takes me out of the abusive house a little after I turned 21, and helped me become physically healthy again. Next up I started working in a kitchen and the sous chef became my best friend. I meet his very sick wife, and she asked me to have a baby for them. At some point they offered me a poly relationship. I became like a second wife. Now we have a baby. Lastly, I started having some sort of seizures about 2 months after the baby was born, and no one is sure what is going on. Thanks to the virus, I can't get an in-person visit for over 2 months. These are the big ones, but there are many small ones in there as well. In short, thought I'd die, but I made it. My married best friend started a relationship with me and his wife is like a sister now. I have a baby, I'm a mom, what? And lastly, seizures. This is so cute and inspires me a lot. Being told I'd never have children without medical intervention, which was fine since I didn't want any. Turned 30, quit smoking and drinking. It was the healthiest I'd ever been. Used birth control and condoms. Then, boom, I got pregnant. Had the baby and discovered that I really liked the smother thing and adored my baby. Best thing that ever happened to me. Funny how that worked out. Alcoholism. I was a fantastic student in high school. Straight A's, AP classes, varsity athlete, got into every college I applied to, but liked to party occasionally. Everyone I knew expected me to just keep the ball rolling and be successful right away, but things went downhill fast through college. I ended up transferring from a really good private school to a mediocre state school for a girl. Barely eked out a degree after taking an extra year, and after graduation ended up just rotating between rehabs, halfway houses and homeless for a few years. Gradually got my crap together, fricked it all up again, rinse and repeat. I'm in one of the good times now, hoping to keep it this way. My dad always wanted me to move in with him. He manipulated me into thinking my mom was an awful person. After living with him for a while and realizing his intentions were to manipulate me to get back at my mom, he got upset with me and started calling me crazy just like my mother. He said I needed psychological help and kicked me out. Now that I'm an adult, my mom has opened up to me about more fricked up crap he did. I always put him on a pedestal. He used to be my hero. Crazy how things can change. My husband died really unexpectedly last August, leaving me to raise my teenage stepkid alone in a city that I relocated to for his career. I'm still in shock. So the new normal of constant corona anxiety is just another layer. I own a business that is considered recession proof but isn't essential. Didn't expect to be alone like this. Won't be getting a new partner. Just going to ride this go at life out and do the best I can to raise my awesome kid. Real sad. Real sad. That is awful. I know I'm just a stranger off the internet, but I hope you will be okay and that one day you will be happy again. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.